cloud. Okay, so hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's so amazing that we have presence all over the globe, right? So I want to officially welcome you. My name is Ramona Ratiu. I am the current president of the ISACA Chicago chapter and the Global Chile Stack Ambassador, the founder of the Chile Stack with Expertise program. And a couple of logistic items I need to go over today. We are offering, so we start our session like 11 a.m. Chicago time, and we're going to go until 12:30 p.m. Chicago time. That's 1 hour and a half CPEs offered for this session. There is no tie to the polling questions. Your login will serve as the proof, and you'll receive the 1.5 CPEs allocated within a week. Now, you know, our CPE coordinator, she's on vacation, so probably it's going to take 2 weeks, but bear with me. You're going to get it, okay? That would be either directly uploaded to your My ISACA account, if you have registered, if you're an ISACA member, first of all, and if you have registered using your same email address as for your ISACA membership. That's an automatically upload. Otherwise, don't worry, you'll receive a certificate via email. So you are entitled to the 1.5 CPE. This session, it is recorded, and the link is going to be posted on our Chile Stack Chicago Engage platform. Okay, please go ahead, as usual, use the chat if you have any questions, the Q&A box as well for the speakers. I'm going to monitor the chat for questions related to ISACA Chicago, and we have Nadine here monitoring the chat for questions for our speakers today. Okay, so here is the plan for our next hour and a half. You'll be hearing from me just briefly on overview of our Chile Stack with Expertise program, and then we are going to hear from our esteemed speakers from the Pmo Global Institute. We're going to have we have here with us today Nadine Krukovskaya. She is the lead event and accreditation at Pmo GI. She's going to give us an overview of the Pmo GI. And I want to say a big thank you from the beginning to Nadine for coordinating this session. She did a phenomenal job keeping on my toes, myself on my toes, with so many events that we have for the chapter. She had the patience with me. So thank you for that, Nadine. Then we are honored to hear from the CEO of Pmo GI Institute, Abdullah Al Mamoun. Then we'll get a deeper dive into the topic with Sandra Boyle and career perspectives on project management from Corinne O'Brien. Okay, so that's kind of a high level. Nadine is going to go into more details about like learning expectations. But as usual, if you guys have any feedback, any suggestions, any comments, please go ahead and send them to president@chicago.isacachapter.org. Okay, and with that, I want to give you just a high level of the Chile Stack with Expertise program for those of you that are new. So this program has been launched last year in June and designed to support the Chile Stack community in enhancing our knowledge on areas under ISACA curriculum. As a whole, Chile Stack Chicago will continuously support the global mission, the ISACA global mission of seeking to increase the representation of women in technology leadership roles and the tech workforce. Through all our chapter programs, we strive to advance more women leaders in the tech industry. And the 3 pillars under its umbrella, we do have the expertise pillar. And as I mentioned, we're going to bring women that share their career progression and their knowledge and their expertise in the field. This is why we are here today, to embrace the knowledge shared by our friends at the Pmo Global Institute. The Inspiring Women pillar will be featuring women who made history, including women from our days who we appreciate and look up to. The pillar is supported by interviews, articles, and podcasts. And the 3rd pillar is called Virtual Retreat. It's our time to revigorate, energize, and empower. We have delivered sessions on meditation, yoga, how to dress up, the fashion of virtual meetings, interior design tips and tricks. And back in July of this year, we had our first big conference for the Chile Stack with Expertise, and we heard from a doctor's perspective on self-care. So expertise, inspiring women, and virtual retreat are the three pillars supporting our Chili Stack with Expertise program. Okay, so if you are interested in being part of the Chili Stack community on LinkedIn, please go ahead and scan the QR code that's on the screen. I'm pretty sure that your phone is sitting next to you, unless it's sitting straight in your hand. So please go ahead and scan the code and participate, be part of the Chili Stack community on LinkedIn. If you come across any articles that you think might benefit, other members, and please go ahead and share them with the group. If you have any opening position opportunities in your company, or if you heard an opportunity that relates to our ISACA membership, please feel free to post it on LinkedIn page. We truly appreciate everyone's support and engagement. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass the mic to Nadine.
Good morning, ISACA Chicago chapter participants. Thank you so much, Ramona, for your awesome introduction and summary overview of our event. We are glad to see all of you coming to meet with great speakers and get deeper knowledge about PMO. So we are really pleased to be virtual guests in Chicago. ISACA is dedicated to lifetime learning and career progression for the global community of IT professionals. And Fast Track Your PMO signature event is focused on project professionals who lead multiple projects and want to boost their career and recognition. So as Ramona introduced me, I'm Nadine, the event manager, and I will moderate this event for you today. I promise it will be valuable and joyful for you. At the end of the session, you will have the chance to win great prizes. So cheer up and stay tuned till the end. So, and now I will share my screen to roll through the first slides and give you a short overview about Pmo Global Institute. All right, let me share it. So now you can see my screen, right? Today, we will learn how PMO setup works. We will learn tools and techniques to apply CB-PMO Framework. All participants will increase their visibility and become recognized within their organization and peer circle. You will make use of the best practices in PMO and increase the success rate of your projects. And you will earn 1.5 PCUs, as Ramon has mentioned. So all participants will get for free the CB-PMO framework. You will get access to the largest PMO community. 5 lucky winners during the Kahoot game will win full-year Pmo Global Institute regular memberships, which actually cost $89, but you will get it for free. So you will be able to download the digital copy of the Pmo Guidebook, and here you can see it. Pmo Global Institute is the global body for PMO certifications, representing global project management offices, including project, program, and portfolio managers involved in defining, establishing, and running high-performing PMOs in and across industry sectors. So our objective is simple: to make PMO learning available to project professionals across the globe through certifications, events, networking, and hands-on knowledge sharing. We already have members in 100+ countries. Also, we have 70+ partners in 60 countries. 46% PMO directors said that their organization doesn't understand the value of project management. 68% of stakeholders perceive their PMO as bureaucratic. So, and now I'd like to pass the floor to Ramona to make a short introduction of the CEO of Pmo Global Institute.
Oh, thank you, Nadine. Great overview there, and I'm excited of all these prizes. I hope I can join and I can participate, right? Okay, so we are honored to have here with us today the CEO of the Pmo Global Institute, Abdullah Al Mamoun. An amazing personality, voted as the most influential CEO of 2018 by the CV magazine in UK for learning and development. He is the creator, the architect, the brain behind the world's first artificial intelligence-based PMO software and AI-driven PMO model. Among his other creations, I would say, includes the award-winning multilingual exam simulation platform, which is available in 7 international languages and being used by more than 100,000 users in 120 countries. Abdullah is a passionate project manager speaker and has spoken in more than 20 countries across all continents. Abdullah's mission as the CEO of the PMO GI is to make PMO learning and tools available in 200 countries in the next 3 to 5 years. That's a wonderful goal through community engagement, knowledge sharing, and partnership programs. So welcome, Abdullah. It's great to see you and have you here with us. I know it's late where you are in Singapore right now, but we truly appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with our community.
Thank you very much, Ramona. So beautiful introduction, one of a kind, of a lifetime. Thank you so much for a nice introduction, actually, right? Good morning, Chicago. How are you doing? I wish that I could see all of you, but I can't see because it's an webinar settings model. But however, I must say that, I love Chicago pizza. The Chicago deep pizza. I'm a big fan of it. So, last week in London, me, Korean, and Dion, we were supposed to go and find a, deep dish Chicago pizza. So, however, we couldn't match time. But hopefully, very soon we'll come over to Chicago and we'll have some party together to share this, very interesting knowledge. You guys are security professionals. We are PMOs. And there could be a great hybrid combination, and we can share our knowledge with each other, right? So many of you, wondering how PMO, fast track your PMO. It's a kind of like PMO session is relevant for security professionals, right? And I'm also worried that I'm in front of all the security professionals, cyber security professionals, general security professionals, compliant bosses, leaders. It's not easy, and probably many of you know that in terms of most demanding certification in the world, security professionals are on the top list. On average, in many statistics says that on average they make about 150K per year in different continents. So you guys are the brain. You guys are the think tank of the global security that we are actually working on. Right, so we were actually, surprising fact is that today our main speaker is Sandra. She's very experienced in project management and PMO, and she'll be, giving a very fantastic pitch how easily you can roll out and adapt PMO. But one thing I want to share that you will find there are different types of PMOs. Pmo Global Institute, we're working on developing a very good case studies on security PMO, right? So today I would like to focus a little bit on security PMO, right? So we have different types of PMO. So first of all, many of you probably know that Sandra will cover why we need a PMO. The concept is simple. You work on different kind of projects. You work on, cybersecurity projects, IoT projects, compliance projects, these projects, that projects related to IT. And security and information technology, right? So whenever you have multiple projects, you need some kind of department to coordinate these projects so that they may ensure that your projects are aligned with the corporate objectives, right? This department can ensure that, obviously in cybersecurity area, in security space, resource is a big challenge. Where there is a huge crunch of qualified cybersecurity professionals around the world, and that's why you need a very strong PMO so that they can nurture the talents, they can maintain the talents, and they can get the best output from the from the team they have, right? And also continuous improvements and all. So there are many benefits to have actually a PMO. One of the things is that having manage your resources, creating the pipelines, and getting the best productivity an output from your team and make your project successful. Then the concept came up. We have like different types of PMO. One is like, we have like, project management office, program management office, portfolio management office. There are center of excellence. In other terms, we call it program management office. We have enterprise PMOs. Like, we have Agile Pmo, which is coming up big time, right? So there is another kind of PMO, which is coming up big time as well, which is called security PMO. Okay, so this is something, we are also working with a couple of big, professionals as well who are expert in, security PMO, established security PMO as well, to create this concept and add it to our PMO guidebook, right? And I would really welcome if any of you actually working in security PMO, actually joining this session today, please drop us your email ID, and you can be one of the contributor of the concept that you're developing and the case studies we're developing on security PMO, right? So please, Corinne, I would request you to share your email ID. And also, if any of you actually working in a security PMO, again, I'm repeating, please share your email ID so that, we will get an invitation to work with our close team to work on this particular area, because this is something coming up big time, the security PMO, because, many of you actually are project managers, then moving to senior, then becoming, security PMO, head of PMO. So these are very interesting concepts we are working on. In terms of PMO maturity, if it is security PMO, if it is like, Agile PMO, or it is center of, excellence, it goes through a couple of stages. And what I know that, saw from your statistics, your great organization.
I think we lost Abdullah for a bit. Let's give him a few seconds. If not, I think, we can get into the next speaker, Corinne, which one is it?
Sandra.
Sandra's next. I thought Singapore, you imagine all these, big skyscrapers and stuff. You wouldn't imagine Wi-Fi to go off, would you?
It's a really often thunderstorm, maybe.
Possibly. Apologies. I'm hoping that he's coming back. Let's give him a couple of minutes. Here he is.
Oh, hello.
He's back.
Probably another security breach in between. All right. So anyways, so I'm not going to, I can speak day long on PMO and, the challenges we are trying to solve in the world. Globally, there are about, 75% PMOs are struggling. They're not getting the right guidance. Many of them actually getting shut down within 3 years. So one of the reasons that Pmo Global Institute is working, across the continents, is to ensure to transfer this knowledge with guidebooks, with quality contents, with case studies, with statistics, with survey, and with this kind of events, so that we get more aware about the good practices of PMO and how we can improve our existing PMO, or probably we can set up a better PMO with the framework that we have. We have this framework called CB-PMO Framework. This is something you can easily learn and deploy in your organization, right? So I will pass my floor back to Nadine. And I'll be staying with you to learn, more about your organizations, and look forward. I'm going to see who is going to win today, the PMO Guidebook that we have, right? So thank you once again, and thank you the Chicago chapters president and all the directors and all the initiators who have actually, organized this event, and really appreciate that. And thank you very much. To everyone, and see you around very soon. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Abdullah, for this motivating speech. And now, dear participants, be careful. Starting from this session, please take notes, because at the end of the event, we will play a Kahoot game made on the base of this content. And you will have the chance to win one of 5 full-year Pmo Global Institute regular memberships. Are you excited? Be focused and take notes. So, and now I'm going to hand over to Sandra Boyle, who is a PMP and CB-PMO certified senior project management executive with over 20 years experience establishing and directing strategic project management offices. Sandra has delivered results through her ability to assess corporate culture and apply an appropriate style and structure to project portfolio management and standardized project management methodology. Sandra currently teaches project management fundamentals at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies and has taught senior leaders how to apply successful project management principles and strategies in their organizations. She has applied her expertise across different industries, working with companies such as Air Canada Cargo, Purolator, Orange Air Ambulance, as well as in industries in finance, software development, health, and various levels of government. Her broad diversity of experience has enabled her to build and spearhead top-performing teams, providing guidance, training, and support needed to establish PMOs. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Thank you very much for inviting me to join you today. Very honored to join this highly skilled group. Fantastic to meet with you today. Your industry is in such demand and has probably seen more pressure than anyone over the past few years, the past 2-3 years. So kudos to you for the your career aspirations and that you do all the hard work that you do for us. Ironically, as we talk about technology, you're going to see that my name says Nadine, but it's not Nadine. It's I'm Sandra. So as much as I keep changing it, I couldn't reload my Zoom file, so I just decided we'll just go with it. So if you like the presentation, my name is Sandra Boyle. If you don't, my name is Nadine. I'm just kidding. But nonetheless, I'm just going to share my screen here. I'm happy to talk to you today about fast tracking your PMO, and I am not able to share. So just Ramona, it says its host is disabled participant screen sharing. So
hold on 1 second.
No worries. I'll just keep talking. So as Abdullah had said earlier, there's different types of PMOs. Regardless of the industry, the interesting thing is as Nadine had earlier mentioned, I've worked in a number of different industries. The reality is the way that we mobilize people, the way that we organize them, we align to our strategies, it's the same. The concepts are the same, but the content, the experience that you bring to your industry is then what you leverage, obviously, as you go forward and you work on your project portfolios and your performance. Am I back on? I am. Okay, so let me know when you can see my screen. We are good. Okay, so, fast tracking your PMO, this can seem like a daunting task, but it doesn't actually have to be. There's a framework that the Pmo Global Institute has created that you can use and leverage to institute your own project management office, excuse me, at your organization. And we're going to take a moment today to talk about that and talk to you about how do you leverage this framework. Before I get started, I just want to talk about what is a PMO. And so from our PMO guidebook, a project management office, PMO, is a group consisting of internal and external entities, which defines, maintains, and ensures standards for project management to deliver strategic initiatives. So this, in various organizations, may be a project management office, it may be a program management office, it may be a portfolio management office. But today we're talking about all of these. This applies to all of them. We are talking about these different types of PMOs. So just make sure that we were on the same page with that. An interesting quote that I would like to talk about is coming together is the beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success by Henry Ford. It's an interesting quote because, You know, in my 20 years of working in projects and in project management offices have lots of challenges. And there's a lot of different issues and elements that will come up. So as we go through, I thought that this was really apropos because we can bring a PMO together, but it is a constant journey that you need to work with. And this framework today will help you not only start your PMO, but be mindful of the things that you need to do to keep it going and keep it successful. And I say that because there's a lot of challenges. And just maybe in the chat, you can share with me your experiences. What experiences have you had as challenges in PMOs that you've worked with? Yeah, optics, structures missing. Yeah, sometimes too rigid. Great. Yeah, these are great points. I mean, yeah, structure, we talk about the structure missing, projects doing their own thing, lack of transparency, even if it's too rigid, was the wrong structure put in place for that type of organization? Did it not take into consideration the culture? Yeah, not always sticking to those processes, top-down support, excellent. All of those absolutely valid things that you've raised. Some other example, So Paul says, some PMOs forget to realize that a project is something being done, not the side of regular duties. We do not always have fully dedicated to the project. It's a great point because not all organizations, it all depends on the type of PMO you've set up. And actually, this is something that Pmo Global teaches in their courses, that there's different types of PMOs and choosing the type of PMO and being mindful of that. So depending on the type of PMO you've set up will depend on what that looks like for your group. Some other examples that you might have seen, maybe it's lack of project management understanding across the organization, or you talked about optics, inability to actually be transparent, but then also show the value that the PMO brings. That top-down support, lack of clear objectives, not knowing exactly what it is we are supposed to deliver, or everybody having a different interpretation of what we're supposed to deliver. Standardization of processes, responsiveness to changes, being able to pivot when required, or maybe not funded or resourced to match the scope that you're supposed to deliver. So these are some of the challenges. There's lots of different challenges that PMOs do experience. We look at that, how does the data stack up? And we have some interesting statistics to talk about. 54% of PMOs lack the ability to track KPIs in real time. So measurement is such a big part of staying on top of your PMO, your portfolio, your projects. And most projects just don't have that real-time ability. 80% of project managers state that they can't get by without project portfolio management processes and technology. So interesting to say that they have more than one project they have to run. There's a lot of reporting that they have to do, and they need the support for that. But then you go to the other one and you say, and 54% of organizations don't have it in real time. So maybe they're not having the technology support that they need to run their projects effectively. This one is one that I find interesting because if we took this stat a few years back, it wouldn't be as high. 89% of organizations now have at least one project management office or program management office. They have a PMO. That's incredible because I remember a time when it wasn't as many. So it's great to see that organizations are starting to understand that by creating a methodology, creating a strategy, proactively managing their portfolios is going to wield greater success. But there's another side to this coin. The other side to this coin is that 75% of PMOs fail within the first 3 years. So 89% have them, 75% fail. This is not a good philosophy, not a good strategy, not a good statistic. This is, if you want to see more of the source, you can find it from the annual report of the State of Project Management by Wellington. So interesting that we talk about all of this, because this leads us into, well, you know, how do we deal with that? How can we move forward? And the Guide to the Project Management Office PMO Guidebook was created by Pmo Global. This resource, I wish we had this resource 20 years ago. We had to fumble our way through project management offices back then. So this book is phenomenal because it puts together the framework. And today I'm going to highlight the framework itself, but there's a lot more in this book and that you can learn about. What it really does is it really sets a PMO standard. So it provides a basis for understanding and enabling intended outcomes in different project environments. So like I mentioned earlier, everybody has different industries, but the standard that you apply is really universal. And so being able to add that to your organization is important, and to have a resource like this helps you to understand what it is you need to set up and how to go about it. And it sits there as your foundational reference. So to better understand how PMO works and operates, fostering common understanding, practices, and approaches that every PMO should follow. So let's go through this and talk about the CB framework itself, PMO framework. When we talk about the framework, I just finished telling you, what PMO stood for. You're thinking, hey, Sandra, you just told us a minute ago what it stands for, but I want you to think about this. The book takes us through a different acronym, if you will. So the Pmo approach talks about purpose, measure, and optimize. And the CB-PMO framework is based on this. So what is the purpose of your PMO? How will you measure that purpose? And then are you attaining it? And then how will you optimize it? This philosophy is the sort of winding thread that takes you through your whole PMO. It is so easy. When I think back, when I was a junior PM and I was at Air Canada and I was part of that project management office, I remember at the time, we could have benefited from having this, because we had different stakeholders with different ideas of our purpose, and we were getting pulled in different ways. And it's hard to be successful. Now that PMO still is there and so on, but it could have optimized faster and had a better collaboration with its executives and key stakeholders. So having the right purpose, knowing how to measure it, being transparent on your measurements, and then optimizing. Now let's go through, so how do you do that? And the CB-PMO framework is going to take us through that. And I'm going to walk you through the overarching framework, and then we're going to dive into the framework itself. So we'll start first with the foundation layer. And this assesses the current condition of the PMO and develops the roadmap to activate the ultimate goal. And we'll go through what that means and how do you set up that foundational layer. Then we're going to go through the executable layer. And the executable layer is development of the policies, procedures, governance, proof of concept, and metrics. Like I mentioned earlier, measuring. We have that foundation, we've aligned. Now we're going to measure it. What is it that, how are we performing against it? The supporting layer takes a look at those methods, technology, and sustainment activities. This is why it's a circle. This is a continuing flow that we always go back to and we keep building upon. And last, but definitely not least, is our leadership and sponsorship. Majority of PMOs fail due to lack of effective role played by the PMO leadership. This is also key. We're going to talk about that and how do we build that out for our organization. So that all encompasses our overarching CB-PMO framework. So the foundation layer. We start with the business objective. What is it that your organization does? What are they trying to do? And understand your particular organization, and then understanding how your PMO strategy develops on that. You need to link your PMO strategy directly with the business objective, or you're not going to have that top-down support. It needs to be there. It needs to be value add. Do a health check in your organization. If you're starting out, this might be just a bit more of where you stand right now in your health check, but always, like I said, this circle, you're going to come back to this. You're going to always come back to your health check and evaluate and make sure that you're still aligned. And so you'll do the health check to see how we're performing. Are we following standards? Do we have standards? Do we have gaps? Do we have skill issues, etc.? And do a maturity assessment. And this one absolutely says, this one takes a look overall of your whole organization. When we take a look at maturity models for project management, there's 5 levels to that. And I won't go into all the detail of that. The guidebook will take you through that as well. And there's a great tool in there that you can leverage. The maturity assessment takes a look at helping you understand, well, where is the organization at? Are they just at the very beginning, or are they fully mature? And taking a look to see, where do you stand? Because I always tell people, you have to start where you are. It's one thing, I've gone into organizations and they want to be at the managed level, but they don't have anything yet. So you got to start where you are. Where are we? And let's understand that so we can build upon it. And then you can analyze and define your PMO functions. All of this lines back up, remember, to that PMO objective. What functions are we going to put in place? How are we going to line up to that and set ourselves up for success? Building out that PMO roadmap. So what will we do over the next few months to start to accomplish this structure and what we need to do? And then, just like a project, you need a charter. So you need to build out your PMO charter. This helps your stakeholders understand, what's the business objective? What's the strategy that the PMO is taking? How are we lining up to it? Who's going to be on the charter? Who is the steering committee? How are we going to work going forward, etc. So as you go through, just like you do your project charter, you're going to identify, do we have resourcing? What's the funding for this? Put these elements in place. And yes, I see there's a question here. There is a PMO charter example in the guidebook, which I believe everybody, Nadine, is getting. Are they getting a copy of the guidebook if they buy the membership, right? If they
Only
win.
if they win the competition, Sandra. Come on. Yeah, Adrian, you can win the PMO guidebook today. So please stick around for the quiz.
So make notes, because I did hear that if you answer these questions properly, you're in contention. So yeah, the PMO charter is there, and you'll use that as your basis document, which like you do with a project. So as we're speaking about the guidebook, there are a number of templates in that guidebook. There's a sample health check. There is a maturity assessment. There is a roadmap template and a PMO charter template. So become a member of the Pmo Global Institute, and you'll get that guidebook, and you'll have all those tools. I recommend it. Not just for people who are running PMOs, but people who work in PMOs. You should have this type of information and to help support your organization. The executable layer. So we've built the foundation. Now we hit the executable layer. We're going to do what we call develop the 2PG, the policy, procedure, and governance. Set up that expectation of how you're going to organize your projects, the policies around it, the procedures around it. Put that all in place to set up that structure for your organization. But before you go anywhere else, you're going to do a proof of concept. And it's interesting because when you do a proof of concept, first you get to see how is it working, tweak it, fix it, and then go back, and then you're ready to launch larger. When I've done this before, another interesting thing happens. The executives will see the difference between your POC and how well that project's working and the rest of their projects. And all of a sudden, they want more. And that's part of dealing with that top down support. Your stakeholders will want more. They'll like the cadence that you start to develop because you've put something in place, and then they want to see it on all the other projects. Now, having them, link arms with you makes a big difference, because they want to move to that next stage with you. And it's not as much, you don't have to convince as much. They've seen it, they like it, they want it, they've given their feedback, You might tweak the process accordingly, and then you can move forward. Now you want to define your PMO KPIs. And this is one I find PMOs forget to do, but it's important because you need to show the value. You need to show how are we performing and tweaking and optimizing thereafter. So you need to define metrics to measure your objectives that you stated in your PMO charter. And then define the roles and develop the competencies. So build out those competencies so that you can be successful overall in delivering your projects and your portfolios. And then evaluate the ROI of the PMO. How did you perform? How has this impacted and added value to the organization? And again, the guidebook does talk about different metrics that you can use and give you some starting points so that you can go from there. You want to track that PMO performance. You want to know, are we doing well? Where do we need to keep working on? Where are we focused? And then continually improve and build out. So when we talk about this, you know, the results, like I said, are a big point. You want to show how you're performing, and we want to be transparent on that. So it needs to be based on objectives. Remember earlier you created that charter? Now you want to measure, this is what we agreed to, that this is what the PMO would do, and we're measuring against it, and here's our performance against it. It's going to be results-based. It's going to be, this is how we're performing. Hey, maybe we have to build out in this area, and you start to strategize on how you'll do that. But all of it comes back and links back to providing value to the organization. Really important that you do that. It's not just, oh, we do this activity over here. It's, we have totally aligned ourselves to the organization, and we are results driven. So some sample PMO KPIs. What metrics could you use to measure performance? And I'll ask you guys, do you have thoughts on different metrics that you could use? What might you want to measure in your organization? It is a trickier one. If you haven't thought this way before, yeah, time to completion. Yeah, projects failed. Yeah, the financials for sure. Taking a look at whether it's ROI of your portfolio, or does the portfolio link to the strategy and the ROI associated? Yeah, good point there, Faye. Yeah, it needs to be defined at the project initiation, agreed with the business. Yeah, so those are some great ones. How well the objectives are met. Absolutely. You know, taking a look and finding ways to measure the scope and see that you're delivering on the scope you were intended to. Taking a look at the benefits, be it qualitative or quantitative, were there. And some other examples as well, just like you may do on your project, schedule performance index and cost performance index, having that for your portfolio as well, taking a look at how the portfolio is performing, your project management office overall. Benefits realized compared to benefits forecast, you know, return on investment across the PMO's project portfolio, projects delivered in line with the business case, somebody mentioned that earlier, time elapsed between the proposal of a project and its activation. That kind of gives you a little bit of information about how fast is your organization and potentially your PMO at initiating a project, and where does it fall apart? Because now you can go back and you can optimize, right? Projects that were delivered on budget over the last year, time elapsed between risk identification and mitigation. So there's just some different ways that you can measure overall. And so let's go into the supporting layer of the framework. So we talked about supporting, we've talked about the foundation, we've talked about executable, and we'll go into now, you know, methods, models, methods, and artifacts. You need to set these up for the organization. Some people actually want to start here, you know, they want to come to this point, but they haven't given thought to all the other elements. But now you're taking a look at this and making sure you've got that in place and you're always updating those. Stakeholder management, just like you do on your projects, you need to do stakeholder management with your PMO. Make sure that you're meeting with your stakeholders, make sure those key stakeholders are part of your stakeholder matrix and you're managing it accordingly to make sure that you understand and they understand as well, and get their input and feedback. Taking a look at the environment, how the environment affects your PMO. Somebody had mentioned earlier, process is too rigid. An example I would have, when I was at certain organizations, some organizations love rigid processes and others don't. You've got to scan the environment and see what you're dealing with. Some of the operational environments I dealt with, they could only handle bare minimum. Partially because obviously they're at the lower end of the maturity level, they're just getting started. But these are things that you have to be aware of in the environment. You've got to know where you are and build accordingly. And then your PMO technology stack. Having the tools you need in order to effectively manage your project portfolio, it's going to save you time, it'll make you more efficient. And nowadays, you can even start to leverage AI, where a lot of these tools help you to be smart about how you do work, and they actually help you so that you can actually do the work. It'll flag things for you based on certain criteria and so on. So taking a look at the tools that you have to manage your projects and not just treating it as an afterthought, something to think about as you grow and build. Your team structure and what structure, according to the type of PMO you've created, is appropriate. Don't forget about succession planning. You want this group to continue on. Who will be the successor? How will you build up those skills to have that succession plan enacted? Supporting functions that you need in order to keep the PMO going and in place. That PMO structure we mentioned, and then the Agile PMO, as Agile has become so much more prevalent over the past few years. Adopting Agile principles into your PMO, taking some of those principles, taking a look at how your projects are delivered, the types of methodologies you use. You might be in a PMO that has Agile projects and waterfall projects, but you also just can use some of the Agile principles from the manifesto to think about, you know, how do we run our portfolio? You're going to find that your executive is going to resonate with your executive. So taking the time to understand what that means and building that into your PMO is important. And then last but definitely not least is your leadership and your sponsorship. Taking a look at how that affects your PMO overall. So who's leading your PMO? Putting that person in place, choosing someone that has the ability to run the PMO, getting them the right training, putting the right support in place, making sure that they are able to run the PMO. So many organizations will just like choose a project manager, say, oh, you run the PMO. Send them for training, send them for the CB-PMO training, send them to get that understanding, build out your PMO leadership. Your executive sponsorship is key for PMO success. You need the top-down support of your executive sponsor. Those statistics that I mentioned earlier, a lot of failure happens because you don't have that sponsorship support of the PMO. So nurture that relationship, build that, ensure that you've got that there. And then emotional intelligence, not to be underestimated. When we talk about emotional intelligence, you know, it's the ability to sense, understand, manage, and apply the information and power of emotions as a source of energy, motivation, connection, influence. This is an important piece of information. You're going to have different, you know, when I've gone in and done PMOs, it's been different in different organizations. People are feeling different things. If I'm in a punitive organization, meaning that when somebody does something wrong, they're coming down on them, I need to know that so I can help to foster a different type of culture, because you don't want people to hide their status of their projects. You want to help them with the status of their projects, and having the EQ to help do that is extremely important and something that you need to constantly work on and talk about with your key stakeholders. So that's the overall framework. As we talk about that, we build that layer out. If I had started with this page, it might have been daunting, but you can see as we go through the wheel and we go through the different pieces, it really is a logical structure to how to set up your PMO, first on its foundation, but then for its ultimate success. And like I said, just like that wheel is cyclical, you're going to always go back. You may find as you go through and you start off your PMO charter and you develop out your concept and you start with a smaller scope, that your executive wants to grow it. Maybe they're going to add other responsibilities. Now you can go back, pull out that charter again, take a look at it and say, okay, wait a second, let's add it to our objectives, add it overall to how we'll do it, and then funnel it all the way through. What do I need to do to make sure that it's adequately supported and that I'm able to measure it and I'm able to report back on it so that I can be successful in how our PMO performs. By doing this, being transparent about this, using this framework, I am certain you'll see way better success with your PMO. Like I said, where was this tool, Abdullah, 20 years ago? We needed this a while back, but over the past few years, this tool has come out and it is a fantastic tool. I want to take a moment to thank you for your time. As mentioned, I am Sandra Boyle. I know my name doesn't say it on the screen. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at info@pmevolve.com. And somebody was asking for a freebie. Here's a little freebie. If you want a template on PMO process standardization, got a free little template there. You can go to pmevolve.com and grab it there. And I will be teaching a course on the CB-PMO in case you want to get certified or take a deeper dive into this whole framework and how do you do each of those steps overall. Look for that. December is the time frame. So thanks very much, and I'll turn it to everyone. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you?
Thank you so much, Sandra, for this brilliant, amazing visualization, animation, and your explanation of the framework. It was really brilliant. And now, actually, we will have Q&A session after our next speaker. I'm going to pass the floor to our Vice President of Global Partnership, Corinne O'Brien. Corinne is responsible for promoting PMO learning through collaboration and the partnership program. Corinne has a deep understanding of the diversity of project management, gaining cross-cultural expertise from operating in 6 countries across 3 continents over the past 16 years. By sharing the knowledge of Pmo Global Institute's CB-PMO Framework and Guidebook, Corinne strives to change the fabric of PMOs across continents by ensuring PMOs are not simply performing, but succeeding, thriving, and speaking the same global language. Corinne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadine. Thank you. Sandra, that was absolutely amazing. The way that I mean, I know this framework, I know this guidebook, but I definitely couldn't explain it as well as you did. That's what makes a trainer extraordinaire, I think. So congratulations, Sandra, that was brilliant. Thank you everybody for joining us on this Friday morning. I hope you've all got that Friday feeling and you've got some nice plans for the weekend. So yeah, what can I say? My section today is going to be explaining how we at Pmo Global Institute can support you in your career within the PMO space. So I know that we have some quite competitive people here today, at least Adrian, and probably a few more, I would think, within your industry. So let me just share my screen with you. So here we are. So let me just explain quickly 3 ways that we can help to support you in your career within the PMO space. The first way is to become a member with Pmo Global Institute. So Nadine, if you wouldn't mind, please, just sharing the link for our PMO GI membership. Thank you very much. So it's completely free. With this associate membership, you can download your own copy of the CB-PMO framework. So you can have the framework with you. We have our fantastic community manager with us here today, Dylan. Let's say hi, Dylan.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all, or meet you all.
So Dylan basically is in charge of the membership and building communities, local communities globally around the world. When you have this free membership, we give you amazing statistics, newsletters, lots and lots of information on the PMO space. So please sign up now. Just take a minute to click the link there. Thank you very much. The next way is a regular membership. So with this membership, it costs $89, but 5 of you lucky people are going to win the membership today. With this membership, you can actually download your own digital version of the PMO Guidebook. Oh, here it is. As Sandra mentioned, and she gave us the basis of the framework. This guidebook is the global standard when it comes to PMOs. So please stay tuned till the end of the event, and we're looking forward to giving you this fantastic prize. So this is the first way that we can support you at Pmo Global Institute. Okay, the next way is for you to become certified as a CB-PMO consultant. Sandra is one of our business partners and authorized instructors at Pmo Global Institute. She will be providing a 21-hour course for you. You saw the standard of her training right there. This course, this 21-hour course, will help you to implement this guidebook and this framework within your organization. And Sandra, if you wouldn't mind, can you just pop your website into the chat box, please? I'm sure that people will definitely be wanting to connect with you for your training program in December. So if you'd like to be a CB-PMO consultant, please look into Sandra's program that's coming this December. Okay, the third way, we do have our authorized business partner program. If you feel like you have that training ability, that you want to knowledge share with the next generation of project managers and PMOs and security professionals, we do have this program that we can help you and provide you with the tools and the training to pass on this knowledge to your community and to your network. So those are the 3 ways that we can support you in your career in PMO. Thank you very much. I will just pop my email again in the chat box, and good luck with the quiz. It's a good prize. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Corinne, for letting all attendees to know what opportunities they have. And before going to play Kahoot game, still at least we have one question in our Q&A chat box. So, and let me read it. How do project managers decide if they should stay as project managers or if they should take a role within PMO? So who will answer?
I don't mind answering if you'd like me to.
Yes.
You know, I think there's different skill sets. So the interesting thing about being a project manager is you're leading your team and your team of various experts in their field. When you lead a PMO, you're leading leaders. And so you need to think about what does it mean to lead other leaders, and how do you change your approach? Because you can't take the same approach, you know, of how you manage your direct reports like you do when you manage leaders. So I think it's take a look at yourself and see if it's suitable for you. See if you suit that type of a role, and then start doing some things like the training, like Corinne just took you through training. Build up your knowledge of PMO and see if that's your comfort. It is a different feel than running a project. Running a project itself has its own nuances, and running a PMO is a lot more about stakeholder management, applying EQ, you know, handling objections. You know, some organizations, they're not happy that you're going to say, you know, this portfolio isn't doing well, or that project isn't doing well, and handling that. So a little bit of self-introspection. Ask yourself if you've got that personality that you can handle going in, providing support, feedback, that you might not be the popular one at times, but you'll work through it and try to build the relationship with people. So it's one of those, a little bit of self-introspection to decide if that's who you are and if that suits you. And then the other side is taking a look at how do we structure the organization appropriately, and is that, again, is that you? I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that, but that's something that I would advise you. Think about yourself, and do you suit that?
Thank you so much, Sandra, for your detailed, almost a roadmap answer to self-scan if you are ready for PMO or not. And we also have one more question from Megan. We struggle with PMO incorporating IT general controls into project methodology. What recommendations do you have? Sandra, can you help us?
Yeah, absolutely. So it makes me think of when I was working with the Ministry of Health, and we needed to build in some phase gates for lining up the architecture and the technology with the actual business unit and how they were managing their deployment. And I think really sitting down with the, depending on how your group is structured, take a look at, do you have a phase gate where you do a checkpoint and you have a group that meets and takes a look to see if there is an intersection that needs to be reviewed. We do this. I also am consulting with the city of Hamilton, and we have a group, and they have a business unit and IT monthly meeting, and they review all their projects together, and they go through those intersecting points to see, wait a minute, at this point we need to do this before we can run ahead and do that. So take a look at your organizational structure and see where you can bring the various stakeholders together and talk about why it's so important. It wasn't until some organizations have a habit of wanting to do learn by error, trial, error, and figure it out. And other organizations tend to be willing to learn by other organizations' errors. So, maybe on that sort of front, you can say, we'd like to talk about these concerns and how we can mitigate them and work that into your phase gate if you can, if you've got those.
Thank you so much for your answer. Does anyone else has any questions? You can raise your hand and ask directly too, or you can type in the chat box. If no one has questions, we will start playing the Kahoot game.
Come on, ask some more questions. Come on. Any questions comes to your mind? Anything? Anyone?
Raise your hand and ask directly.
Yeah. Please. Just if you want to, something if I would like to add with Sandra, is that you can try out this Agile Pmo Philosophy, right? So I mean, not as is Agile Pmo, but get the good practices of Agile Pmo and try it out. The way the CB-PMO Framework actually designed, it is actually based on Agile philosophy. You'll see that this whole CB-PMO Framework is not rigid. It's not it's not you have to do this, that, and that. So it's very much depending on the results of the past experience. Then you do the lessons learned, then you move to the next one, right? So that's why this is something you can try it out. You can check, give some try in some sprints. In our Agile PMO, we call it roadmap. So it's in each roadmap you try to get something and give it to your management. Do the lessons learned, then you plan also the next roadmap, what you're going to do in next 6 months and see 6 months to 1 year time, right? So do the lessons learned, check it out, what new things you are trying. And I always say these things to all of my colleagues that when it comes to PMO, you always have to remember there are certain things you can easily change. So we take this change initiatives into 3 layers: easy to change, difficult to change, impossible to change, right? So those list it down. What are the easy things you can change or adapt in your PMO? Go ahead and do it. Difficult things, plan it out, put it in your roadmap. Take concept from your stakeholder, from your management, that boss, I want to try this and give me some support, right? It's difficult, that's why you need this support. So go ahead and try to do it. There are certain, practices, it will not support your organization probably. It will not support by your stakeholders or the structures that you have. We call it impossible to change, so don't even try. Right, right. So yeah, so try to apply some agile philosophy into your PMO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullah. And we've got two more questions. So, and the first one is, do we know any sectors where PMOs are growing or declining? Does it tell us anything about where we see things for PMOs in a decade?
So I think over the past couple of years, obviously healthcare has grown quite substantially in their projects as a result, obviously, of the pandemic. And I have seen, obviously, in technology as well. So cyber attacks have grown. Organizations are having to deal with different approaches. I know at my organization we have about I'm gonna misrepresent the numbers, but it was like 80,000 attacks, I want to say, in a short period of time, and we're constantly cycling through various things like that. So I'm finding that the tech sector and the health sector have been growing quite a lot. I don't know, Abdullah, do you see other sectors as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely right. I think I would rather say that, in terms of mid-size and large organizations across different industries, the concept of PMO and, setting up PMO, managing PMO grown significantly in last one decade, significantly. But at the same time, the challenge is, though it has grown significantly, because top management want centralized reporting. Top management wants, at the end of the month, they want to see the real-time status of the projects, right? They don't want to go to different functional departments and get the report. So the concept is there. It is getting very, very popular. So as per one of the statistics by PMI, they figured out that about 71% organizations, they have some kind of PMO. Right. And anyways, you can call, a PMO, project management office, by 150 plus names. Right. So is another dilemma. So, but the challenge is, though 71% organization, mid-size and large size, they have some kind of PMO, still the challenge is in terms of maturity level, still out of 5, they still belong to 1. Maturity level 1. So that means this sector is still evolving, growing fast. And probably next 20-30 years is going to be a big revolution in PMO space, in terms of career opportunity, in terms of management philosophies, and the way the PMO operates and everything. So it's a kind of hidden gem for next 20 years. We see probably a right career path for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. What are the most rewarding things about PMO roles for you?
I feel like I'm dominating, but I don't mind. So when you're involved in a PMO, you're lined up to the strategy of the organization, it's pivotal. You are making a huge change and improvement to your organization by taking on that kind of a role. I teach PMO strategy. I also teach project management courses. I mean, whether you're in projects and PMOs, you get the opportunity to help your organization grow and change. And you are directly aligned with how organizations get better. When you build out a PMO, now you're dealing with your whole organization, teaching, growing the maturity. You get to go from, hey, people didn't know certain terminology, to, well, now they know terminology. Now they're learning about techniques and tools and structure, and now they're getting into a really neat cadence And what starts to happen is your organization, sometimes, they always have to hire the heroes when they don't have that kind of a structure. So they bring in people like me to come run their projects, but they can actually build within. And the organizations that I've had the chance to build out the teams, my favorite are always grabbing bright lights in my organization and growing them into project managers and then program managers and portfolio managers. It's very exciting to watch them blossom and their careers blossom, and then watch the organization be able to change and pivot and adapt and deliver. PMOs are now in this really, pivotal role when they get the chance to build it out accordingly. And when they do build it out successfully, to be at the heart of what an organization accomplishes.
Great, thank you.
Brilliant. Just to add with Sandra, many people ask me, what is PMO to you? How do you define a PMO? I always say that in one sentence. One of the role of PMO is delivering strategic initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Delivering strategic initiatives. What does it mean? Means, let's consider you are the CEO of a new bank, not a new bank, an old bank, right? And as a CEO, what you do, you go ahead and set the goal for next 3 to 5 years. As a CEO, what are you going to deliver, right? Maybe you set $50 trillion business, 50 more branches, best tech-savvy banking in the world. You set all these 5, 6 goals, right? So how are you going to achieve this? Think of a situation where you have 10 departments. You're going to engage with them separately, or you have a strong PMO and you give all these projects to them. And your PMO basically delivering these strategic initiatives to reach your, strategic objectives of the organization. So I think this is the one of the best takeout. As a PMO, we can say that we are helping our organization delivering these strategic objectives, right? Thank you.
Great, great. And the next one question is Pmo Global Institute a thought leader amongst its peers? How so?
Korean.
I was smiling because this is definitely one for you, boss. Come on, come on. Yes. The simple answer is yes. We are. There are many other. I don't want to say leaders. There are many other thinkers within the PMO space, and many people that have tried to put this concept, this methodology into something sort of digestible. Yes, we are the thought leaders in this space. Please, Sandra, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when PMO Global reached out to me to come and join in their ranks and work with their training, I did my homework as well, and I looked, and their framework is I'm passionate about it. I mean, I talked about it earlier. I'm passionate about it. It's a strong framework. It's a framework that is rooted in a great a great strategic alignment. It helps to really hits home. When I looked at that framework, I looked and said, I can see some mistakes I've made in my career and wish I had this framework, like I said, years back. And I can look at it and say, I would have loved to have this, going forward. So as a person who's run PMOs before and I've downloaded books, I've read all kinds of, online articles and done some webinars and things like that. This is a really well-structured framework that it's just very strong. So I look at it and say, I'm really happy about that. I'm glad to have actually been able to speak about it today and boast about how great this is, because I truly think it is a great framework, and I love it. And I can't wait to see how we start to see PMOs globally improve and get better performance as a result of having a methodology like this and a framework to help them achieve their goals. It really is quite great, and it is quite malleable, I'll say. Like it's not like you have to have this kind of PMO for this to work. It's not like that at all. There's so many different types of PMOs. They might be structured differently. You can actually learn about, well, why does this structure do better than that structure actually? But you might be in your organization, this is where they want your PMO down here. But now at least you have a framework to understand, well, what challenges does that bring? And I don't find your competition, if you will, doing that. Thinkers is a good word. The thinkers out there really having that kind of an approach.
Absolutely agree with you, Sandra. And I think the beauty of Pmo Global Institute is not only our team and are constantly working on, evolving and progressing this methodology. And the second edition of the Guidebook and an Agile framework is coming up, which is going to be super, super exciting. But the main thing is that we have 70 business partners in 50 different countries, like yourself, Sandra, big PMO minds that are contributing to the progression and the evolution of Pmo Global Institute. So are we the thought leaders when it comes to PMO? Yes.
Yeah,
we are.
Great. Thank you, team, for your answers. And I suppose the last one question for today, other than PMP and PMO certifications, are there any other educations and experiences you think are critical to be successful in a PMO role? Any other certifications, educations?
Sorry, was the question for certifications for a PMO role? Is that the question?
Yeah, the question is, other than PMP and PMO certifications, are there any other educations and experience, that you think are critical to be successful in a PMO role? Or it's enough PMP?
There's definitely training that's supportive. I don't know if it's certifications, but you definitely want to do some leadership training and some emotional intelligence training and understand soft skill training, like do some soft skill development and always be looking on how to improve yourself in that way. I don't know if there's a certification for that, but definitely something that will help your career. It doesn't really go after your name, of course.
Yeah, it depends how much hunger you are to learn, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead, grab all of them. So there are many other certifications, even if you consider PMI. I think they have risk management certification, portfolio management certifications, right? So it all depends on your hunger, right? So, but again, nowadays we're seeing that along with the certifications, as Sandra mentioned, when it comes to PMO or this kind of senior portfolio roles, really need to work on the EQ, emotional intelligence, right? So the soft skill part, and that's something really coming up, because probably I was talking with someone today, and I was sharing this, when you are a PMO, you need to now deal with the Z generation, 2022 generations, right? So now it's no longer the old way of managing things. So now we need to be hybrid ourselves. We need to be more agile to learn more. So myself, you ask me, every year I go for 3 paid training by myself. And I have a lot of takeouts from each training that I have, right? So it's up to you, how much appetite you have to go and, learn more. Thank you.
Probably the only thing I would add is, depending on your type of PMO and your organization, if you're in an organization that is I'll call it like a Scrum shop, then there's some Scrum certifications that would be beneficial for you to have. Or, I think that would be the other thing to consider is, if you're in an organization that is, Lean Six Sigma based, then having your belts training, green belts, black belts, master black belt training, those types of things would be beneficial. But to just jump out and go get them first, I don't know. It really depends on where you are and what organization and what types of projects you work on, to then decide which type